For my clients, it's a no-brainer. If they need fixed income, even with the market risk, it has a very good place in a portfolio.
Deborah Ellis shares why commission-free solutions have benefited her business model and how DPL's consultative approach has helped her clients feel more confident about their retirement goals. You're listening to Advisor Revelations.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Advisor Revelations podcast. I'm Willie Jones, a senior consultant here at DPL. And today we get to hear from Deborah Ellis, Vice President of Financial Planning at Cogent Independent Advisors. I appreciate you taking the time to join us today, Deborah, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with our listeners today.
Well, thank you for having me, Willie. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's been great getting to know you and your firm and helping meet your clients' needs over the past several months. We've been through a lot together so far between a pandemic and this new environment that's happening. I'd just like you to tell our listeners more about yourself and Cogent before we get started.
I was born and raised in the film industry in Los Angeles, California. But when I started working, my father was very clear I needed to save half of everything I made because it wasn't a 9-to-5 full-time job. And once I started saving money, my aunt was very clear I needed to learn how to invest it. So I've been investing my own money for over 30 years. At one point in the 2000s, when everything just was exploding, I thought, whoa, we've been real lucky, but we could just as easily lose everything. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to get my CFP. That was a couple years and a lot of testing, and I learned a lot. My big takeaway was you can mitigate risk. You can't control the market. So once I got my CFP, I was recruited. And my original intention was only for my own investments. I just wanted to learn all this stuff for our family investments. But I got recruited by a big firm who decided in their wisdom they were going to start a financial planning division. And when I interviewed, I said, I'm a financial planner. I'm not an insurance salesperson. They said, no problem. Just do your plans. Whatever works is fine. Once I was there, I met Chris, who had also been brought in at the same time. He was an investment advisor. He came from Merrill Lynch and the big investment brokerage houses. And they told him the same thing. No problem. Well, after 6 months, we had both been under a lot of pressure to sell annuities and insurance with high commissions. I mean, you make a lot of money, but it had nothing to do with the clients. It had to do with what the company wanted you to sell. So we used that as an exit strategy. Chris started his own company. Cogent is a registered investment advisory firm, and I'm an investment advisor representative. We're really grateful. We love what we're doing. We are fee only. And that means that there is no service we recommend or provide for our clients where we get any kickback, any income from anyone other than the client. We don't get commissions. We don't get fees. We don't get 12B fees. There's like a myriad of fees you can get as an advisor.
Hey, thanks, Deborah, for sharing that. I had no idea that you were actually a part of the film industry in LA and really took it upon yourself these last years to learn about this just for your own personal usage. But Deborah, I know Cogent first joined DPL in 2018 when we first got off the ground and running, but it wasn't until recently until the firm really started leaning us for specific solutions. Tell us a little about why Cogent decided to become a member firm, if you have that in mind.
When we first started, we kept our insurance license thinking, well, we can sell insurance too. That's okay. And the industry changed so radically, and we weren't keeping up with it. And we didn't want to keep up with it. And we became more and more dependent on outside sources. Chris happened upon you. I don't know where he found out about you, but you were a godsend because this was the first awareness we had that you could actually get insurance policies, whole life annuities out of the commissioned wrapper. And that was who we were. We really were opposed to annuities up until we met you because the fees and commissions were so high that the client really wasn't necessarily getting what they thought they were getting. And they were so complicated and so convoluted. And I couldn't understand them. There was no way a client was going to understand them. There was a few cases where maybe it would be okay because they had no other alternatives and needed the fixed income and didn't want the risk, and it was worth the cost. But in the meantime, we weren't doing that. We were going to different insurance brokers and different people trying to find the best services for our clients when they needed those products. Well, you came into the picture, and timing is everything because I had clients come to me who had annuities from previous lives somewhere. At one time or another, they'd gotten annuities. And, I looked at them and I knew we were working with you. I thought, okay, I'll just show them to you and see what you come up with and what you can say. It's been great.
Yeah, Deborah, that's really part of the reason when you first called me was real interesting because you said you guys were a member for a while, but I hadn't really heard of you or worked with you yet. So I was excited to get the phone call and see what we can do to help your clients. And one of the things we really emphasize to our members is the education piece that DPL offers. Like you said, you thought they were complicated. You didn't know enough to explain it to your client. So you were concerned about getting the message across and making sure it's the right thing that was done for them. But we've connected with your clients a couple of presentations now and shared the information so everyone was comfortable with the strategies you recommended. Why was that part important to you?
Oh, if I could address that. Whoa. Well, I'm really glad you brought that up because I had a client and he wasn't sure if he wanted to go with us as investment advisors. And he mentioned he had an annuity. And I said, well, send me the doc page of the annuity. Let me show it to our annuity people. No fee, just to see what we can offer you. And this was having nothing to do with investing their assets. I just thought, let's just see where we can go with this. Well, I looked at the annuity and didn't have a clue what it was. So I sent it to you and did all the research on it, came back with all of the facts and figures about how the actual annuity worked, what the fees were, Morningstar evaluations, and then came up with 2 or 3 proposals because neither of us were very sure what the client was looking for at the time. And then we got the client on the phone and was able to explain to the client exactly how his policy worked, what the fees were, and why they were making as little as they were making, because he didn't understand it at all. And then you explained the different proposals, and we were able to work with him to see what it was exactly they were looking for, how we could accommodate that, and come up with a proposal that they were thrilled with, that they felt they understood, they knew what was going on, and it was a win-win. I don't know what else to say. It was a very, very good situation. So I was sold. I mean, at that point, I was sold because the clients were that happy. They understood everything. I was very confident that we could move forward. And he is now a client, a full client, not just the annuity, because he did such a good job. And since then, I've had several people come to me with annuities that they did not understand. They were not sure how they worked. And we called you. This was key because I do not at all feel confident explaining annuities or insurance to a client. In the last 10 years, the market has changed so radically between long-term care being combined with whole life insurance, long-term care policies, and term life, and all the different options and variable annuities. I can't say enough about what an asset you are to our company and to our clients. Thank you.
Now, Deborah, I know you just mentioned the clients that we really appreciate that consultative approach that we gave to them. What do you really think stood out and benefited them? And why were you so game on sharing that with other clients and having me talk to them also?
I didn't realize how much information was actually available to the client. So you were able to explain all the different, what I thought of as complexities. You explained in a way that empowered them to know where they were going and what they were doing and what the outcome was going to be, what the probabilities for success, and how that fit into the rest of their strategy. I couldn't have done that. Or let's just say I wouldn't have done that because the years it's taken you to learn all this, I wasn't going to put in the time and the effort because I was focused on the investments and on the planning. So it really empowered them to understand, so much so that the wife said she's retiring, or her retirement plan is changing. She's going to have access to funds and she wants to put them in an annuity just like her husband has, because they were so happy.
Deborah, when you first shared that story with me, it just made me feel really proud of the work we're doing together. Because I know in the past, a lot of clients, when I'm finding out, when they have annuities, they were sold these annuities in a transactional way instead of consulted on these annuities to make sure they're reaching their goals.
That's so interesting because I work with several companies, several different policy types, just opened up a lot of eyes. Yes, our job was to sell, was to pressure people into getting it. What they did with the new agents, myself, they paired us up with an experienced agent. The goal was for us to sell all of our friends and acquaintances annuities and whole life. And then if we didn't make the cut, all these clients went to our partner. We just lost out. That was their business model. That was how they made a lot of money. And I didn't understand it. So when I'd bring friends in for consultations, I'd get very concerned because I felt pressured for my clients to buy it. They were highly pressured. And they were told what a good deal it was. And they're making, this is, 10 years ago, 6%, 7%. They didn't happen to mention that 3 or 4 of that percent went to fees. And that there was usually the funny money and the real money. With DPL, these clients can see exactly what they're doing, where it's going, and how it's set up, what the downside risk is and what the upside risk is. It's really interesting because there were guarantees and there were illustrations, but that didn't have anything to do with what the probabilities were and what they were really going to get. And one experience I really remember, this was with whole life insurance, variable, where when the interest rates were very, very high, all these clients were sold these policies with very, very low premiums and told not to worry, the interest is going to cover your expenses. And then by the time I got there, I had to call all these old clients and say, whoa, your policy's about to lapse. You have to come up with $10,000 or $15,000, and you have to pay that quarterly in order to keep your policy for $1 million or $500,000 intact. And it was heartbreaking because they'd already put all this money into it and it was worth nothing.
Well, Deborah, I can totally understand that. And I even have previous experience with insurance. So I know that one client that we mentioned that we had that case on, he really came to you because I do believe he was, as we said earlier, sold a variable annuity that had some guarantees of 4% growth for income in the future. But as he got closer to retirement, he took a look at it and noticed he almost had 4% in fees, and he couldn't understand why his money wasn't growing faster. And I do think we were able to sit down, as you mentioned earlier, use those Morningstar reports to show him the internal workings of it and show him what his funny money number was compared to his actual accumulation value. And after that was all done, he really liked the solution we came up with, the fixed index annuity, because he now understood his principal was guaranteed. He knew exactly what income he could be guaranteed in the future, no matter what. And that really gave them, wouldn't you say, a peace of mind?
Absolutely. That was the whole key to the thing, because you're talking about what I don't understand, the funny money and then this money and then that money. And he got the annuity because he did not have a pension where he was working. And he thought, okay, that's a good reason to get an annuity. And in that sense, he was right. it is a good sense. But what they guaranteed him and what they were actually giving him were not the same thing. And being able to have you work with him and show him different options and different strategies as you would with any of our other clients, and find one that suited his needs, that started when the income started when he needed it to start and was the amount he wanted it to be, was priceless. And there's a lot of research now on portfolios, long-term strategies with a guaranteed fixed income, meaning annuities, because yes, bonds have guaranteed incomes for a period of time, but right now the income is so low, even 30 years out. So unless you've got some kind of hedge fund or strategy, which is what the annuity funds companies can do with the large funds that they have, that we can't do and an individual investor can't do, you're pretty much at a loss. So it's a really good fit for a lot of cases.
I understand what you're saying. It's really point on, but that is exactly what our goal here at DPL is, to make this process simple and straightforward for your clients and for you, to make everything easy to understand. I'd love for you to share your thoughts on the process of these product transitions and how we work together from where the client agreed to it and then signed on the dotted line.
At several other companies I worked with, the process was grueling. This was pretty cut and dry. There were a few questions because I didn't understand exactly what was happening. The client had a few questions that he wasn't sure if this was going one way or this was going another. They asked their questions. There were concerns, but basically it was all resolved. It took us a little bit to understand the process and the wording and the different channels everything had to go to. But all in all, it was really simple compared to other processes I've been to. It was straightforward, it was simple, and it was quick.
Thank you for sharing those insights, Deborah. I really appreciate it. And what we've even found recently in our own DPL survey to advisors is there are still a lot out there that are afraid to use insurance solutions such as annuities. So I'm glad you pointed out a few instances where it really makes sense and can be beneficial to the advisory firm as well as their clients. Now, before we go, there are still many RAs out there sitting on the fence about partnering with DPL. Why should they consider becoming a DPL member?
Annuities aren't what we were all raised to think they are. They're no longer what they were 10 years ago. DPL offers us choices that we never had before for our clients, and our clients have these options that will really make a good fit in their portfolio. You really need to get past the concept of what an annuity was 10 years ago. The new policies, the new products they're coming up with are very, very different. The combinations between annuities and whole life and the strategies that DPL can propose or suggest to you opens up a whole new world for your clients. It's worth investigating. Even if you don't use them for a specific client, it's really an asset, one more tool in your toolbox that you can help your clients.
Thank you so much for your time and joining us on the Advisor Revelations podcast. It's been a great pleasure working with you, your firm, and I look forward to doing this for many years to come.
I appreciate all the work that you are doing, that DPL is doing, and I think time has come. I look forward to working with you too.
Thanks for listening. You can hear more Advisor Revelations at dplfp.com.